Hello, everyone. Welcome to another awesome day of FileMaker training. I'm Richard Carlton, creator of FM Training TV. We are going to check out the FM Training TV website at fmtraining.tv. Very complicated. You can see the upcoming broadcast schedule right here. Today we got HOnza. We're going to be talking about building an iOS app with FileMaker Go using a product that he has. Very, very exciting to have him here. He does this. He did this about 36 months ago, about a year and a half ago. I think we did this. It's a good topic. If you haven't seen this, it's a good topic. If you're a FileMaker consultant, you need to know this, okay? You may not know how to do it, but you should know it exists and where to go, right? I've actually done all this stuff before, so for me, it's a reminder of what I've already done, but very good. Today is building a standalone iOS app for the iPhone, iPad, for the iOS platform. Tomorrow is about if you have that app and it connects to a FileMaker server, what are the considerations therein, okay? That's another great conversation. I originally had this conversation with Todd Geis from Proof Geis back about 7 years ago. So it's a good topic to have. It's a recurring topic. So then I'm going to stop sharing my screen. We're going to pivot over here to HOnza. Hello, HOnza. How are you?
Hello, everyone.
HOnza is from 24U. So 24U is a company in the Czech Republic, and he is awesome. He's been to a lot of conferences. He's also been one of the people that when something's wrong at Claris, he points it out and he pokes them. Whenever someone goes against the grain and tells the truth, their little stock value goes up. So his value, in my opinion, goes up. Right? And like before long, he'll be like Thor, right? Like, Marvel Universe Thor, right? With a hammer and stuff, right? Goes up.
I think it always settles up when we all figure out we are on the same boat and trying to make everything better, right? So
moving forward, so we're talking about building iOS app. The platform is fantastic. The FileMaker platform is fantastic. That's why we're here. And so as a result of that, we're always trying to take the FileMaker platform and take it to other places. And one of the places you can take it to is to build a native iOS app that you can distribute to your team or your company, or you can give it away and or sell it on the Apple App Store. Okay, those are all possible. Yeah, and so it's so let me back this up. Doing this, you have to do it with XGode. It's kind of a pain in the under learning enough about XGode looks like the script workspace. In fact, if you understand how the script workspace in FileMaker looks, the Claris engineers stole the design from the people at Apple with the XGode design. So it looks like it for a reason. And so you'll kind of loosely feel familiar with it, but it's very different, has very specific requirements. It's a pain. So if you once a year want to make an application, you need something like XGode, or Gode, right? It's XGode, right? Yes? Do I have that right? Gode.
XGode, yes. So basically, we took the names FileMaker Go. We took the Go from it. And we took XGode and combined them together to get XGode.
XGode. All right. So Gode. So the idea with this is that you give HOnza a couple bucks, and I'm actually pitching this as like what I do, and that will save you many hours of time. So if your hourly rate is less than $5 an hour of what you're worth, then don't do what we're talking about on this show. Okay. But if you are personally worth more than about $5 an hour, you need to hire HOnza here, buy this product as kind of a service, right? And he will help you make these apps in record time. If I had to build an app today, right now, even though I've done this with XGode before, I would pay the money to HOnza to do this because I think it would save me. My time is worth more than $5 an hour. Just
okay. And today I'm going to show you why this is true.
It's exactly the point, right? I'm pre-selling it, HOnza. I got someone here. You didn't pay me. I'm simply telling the truth. All right, so let's move forward. Can we switch control to you and tell us about XGode?
Yeah, definitely. So let me share my screen, and I'm opening a short presentation to just give you the intro and explanation what Richard was just talking about. So I'll start with the basics. I guess everyone here know what FileMaker Go is, but is there anyone who has not tried it yet or hasn't put a FileMaker database on iPhone or iPad yet?
Yeah, well, let me just throw the easy questions to me. That makes me look smart, makes me feel good about myself. So FileMaker Go is the client software that works on iPhones and iPads. And before one of you asked the question again, there's not going to be a version of FileMaker Go for Android. It's not going to happen. It's not on any radar down there that they have, and they don't have the spare millions of dollars to build it because they would have to start from scratch. So it's not going to happen. Okay. So, but it does work really, really well on iPhone and iPad.
Okay, so just to answer my question, is there anyone here connected to this live stream who has not yet tried opening a FileMaker database on iOS or iPadOS in FileMaker
Well, no
Go?
one's answered the question yet, right? So that's why
No one? Oh, okay. So this is one thing that it can do, and obviously it can also connect to FileMaker server. So you can have the database either on the device or connect to a FileMaker server. But what you cannot do is you cannot use plugins. And there are some people who like plugins. So this is something that is limiting, and this is caused by the fact that whenever you install an app, it's locked. It's kind of sandbox, and Apple does not allow installing additional modules to the already installed apps for security reasons. So that's one complication, or one limitation. The other one is obviously you also cannot customize the functionality of FileMaker Go by integrating it to some fancy SDKs such as the in-app purchase. So with FileMaker Go, you cannot use in-app purchase to sell more features or more services in the app through the standard in-app purchase process.
in-app purchase. Yeah, in-app purchase, what you said. Okay, that's a big one. I'd forgotten about that. So HOnza, can we do in-app purchases if we do this with you?
Well, if you build a native app, you can do that. And actually, right now, the only way I am aware of is through the MBS plugin, by the way. So that's a teaser. Now, you also cannot easily do custom branding. There used to be a way how you could put your database shortcut on a desktop as a custom icon. But then several things change, and now it's not as easy as it used to be. I'm not even sure if it's still possible because now opening a URL from a different app displays a dialog as an intermediate security warning that you are going to switch to another app. So what you could do with FileMaker Go in the past, like having a web link save a bookmark saved with a custom icon on the desktop. I'm not sure if it's still possible. So custom branding that's also difficult or impossible with FileMaker Go. Now, it's many years. Claris came up with a solution to this, and they have it officially available on their website. It's not very easy to find if you don't know about it. So one place where you can find it is under resources. If you go to the updates and resources page, scroll down to resources and find developer tools, you will find a link to download the Claris FileMaker iOS App SDK. When you click that link, it takes you to the FileMaker community. And when you scroll down through this long text page, you will find some download links here. So Richard already said something about how it's not so easy. I'm using very polite words. So if you download this and you expand the zip that you download, this is what you get. So the next thing what you may want to try is to run this make project directory script.
Yeah,
So
but
if
you
you
have to install Xcode first, right? So
Oh, well, if you read all the text before downloading it, you might install Xcode first. But if you are the kind of
person,
usual
yeah.
person like today, you first download and then read manuals, right?
We
So
download and we push all the buttons, then we don't wonder why it doesn't work. Then we read the manuals. Yes,
exactly.
that's
So
me. I'm sorry.
then the obvious next step would be let's try to run this script. So you end up seeing this, which is just like instructions how to run that script with a command line parameters. And I'm not sure. I'm very I can work with command line just fine, but I can guess that especially in the FileMaker community, most of people are trying to avoid command line as much as possible. Am I right?
Well, no, I mean, if we want to do command line stuff, we wouldn't use FileMaker, right? I hate to break it to you, right? So,
Exactly. So this is the very first moment after downloading the SDK, and we have not yet started like opening XGode and going through all the settings and everything. So this is just the first of the many obstacles that you end up seeing in the SDK. But let me step a little bit back and tell you what the SDK actually is. So in order to explain that, I have to tell you how Claris actually builds FileMaker Go before they put it on the App Store and you can download it. So they also have some kind of project which contains the Draco engine. It contains all the different frameworks and libraries from Apple and other providers, and they take this, run it through Xcode, that's the Apple's developer tool, and then it builds the app. That's the FileMaker Go app. Then, because Apple wants this to be safe and they want to make sure that you don't download viruses, uh, it was one of the first um, companies that started requiring code signing. So before it can go to the App Store, it is signed by Claris identity, which is negotiated with Apple, confirmed, so that the app has a signature that it really comes from Claris and no one else. So you cannot push your app to the App Store claiming that your app is FileMaker Go or that you're Claris, because only Claris has the signature and can sign the app. Once they do this, which actually is automated in the Xcode, they can finally push it to the App Store, which, by the way, is also the Apple Business Manager and Apple School Manager. So Apple Business Manager and Apple School Manager, if you have heard about them, that's just like a special private part of the App Store. So the distribution channel really is still the App Store for everything. But if you are a corporate or if you are a school and download applications in higher volumes to many devices through this tool called Apple Business Manager or Apple School Manager, you're still dealing with an app store, just with the private portion of it, which is like protected. So if you look at it from the other side, if Claris wanted to create a custom app for just one or a few customers, they can simply mark their app as private, and then it will not appear in the public app store, but their specific whitelisted clients will still be able to download it. But that's a separate extra information. The point here is once it's on the App Store, you can finally download it and install it on your iPhone or iPad.
okay, and can I interject? You get a drink, and I'm going to write something here real quick. So,
Sure.
when this comes out and you create an application right here, for those of you who have not done this before, this is a file. It appears to be a file. The extension is IPA, and it's not a kind of beer. Okay, it's an IPA. Okay, that's the extension. So we have FMP12, right? And you have different, docx for Word files and SLX and all that sort of stuff for Excel. IPA is an app. It's an executable app that runs on the iOS. So this is what this is that gets inserted over here, right?
Yeah,
Just keep
and the
jumping back.
IPA by the way stands for iOS Packaged Application.
Okay, the iOS package application, but it's an important touchstone because when we start talking about FileMaker files, those are FMP12, and we understand what that is, and it helps us stay grounded in what's going on. So I will shut up now and let you continue.
Okay, so this is how Claris builds FileMaker Go. So what actually the iOS App SDK is that they took their project that they base the FileMaker Go on. So here, the FileMaker iOS SDK was created simply by them taking their app project and making it public. So what if you download the iOS App SDK, you actually get a kind of clone of their FileMaker Go project. But because you have that project on your own, and it's not built yet, you can add things to it. So for instance, you can add plugins and custom code. So you can actually integrate other SDKs into the app. And what you can also add to it is your FileMaker database and even some extra files, such as like some repository of text files, images, whatever you want, included in the app. So all this is packaged together, which, by the way, in the case of database, means that when you start that app, it immediately opens your database. So it's not the extra step like in FileMaker Go, where you open a FileMaker Go and then you have to open the actual app. In this case, it will automatically open the database that you include with the app, and mark it as the primary one. So when you have all this complete, in the SDK, you would again use XGode, which is the Apple's developer tool, and that will build your own app. So not the FileMaker Go, but your custom app. So it has the name you gave it. It will have the icon you give it, and you will be then able to publish it on the App Store under your name with your identifier. And in order to do that, it will be also signed by your identity, not Claris. So the certificate, the code signing certificate in this case will be yours, not the Claris one. And then once it's on the App Store, your customer or your users can install it on the iPhone as a proper native app with a new icon, a new name. But this is only one of actually 3 currently possible ways of doing it. There's one more way to get the app on the phone, and that's TestFlight. That's a special app that Apple has for beta testing. So if you have the app almost ready, but you need to get it to a limited number of clients or users to test it out, you can let them install it through TestFlight, invite them as beta testers, even before it's released on the App Store. So that's the other option. And there's one more option, which has one significant advantage and significant disadvantage, and that's called ad hoc distribution, which means installing the app directly to your device. So you kind of bypass App Store. You don't have to go through Apple's approval process. You don't have to go through all the obstacles. You just hit the button and install it on your device immediately. You don't have to wait. The advantage is it bypasses the Apple's approval process. So it's you who decide what to put in the app. No one can just manipulate it. It's your decision. The big disadvantage is that you can only install it on your own devices, which you have registered with Apple, and you can register only up to 100 devices in your account, and the app will only work for maximum 1 year. So you have to reinstall it with a new version or update it at least once a year. So those are disadvantages. Advantage is that you can install it directly. So if you need like a hot update, whatever, you can just do it and you don't have to wait for anyone else.
Let me help here a little bit. So real quick. So this is your app, everyone. And this is what, Margaret, what kind of file is this down here? It's a what? You're an XGode. The way this works is you don't cheat, Honza. You're not allowed to talk. We're testing people. So that you identify the SDK, you ask your sample file is over here, plugins for Monkey Bread, because why would you not use Monkey Bread? Run it through XGode, it compiles. The word is compile. If I can write that, compile, and it shoots it down here. This is an IPA file. Okay, now you have the IPA file. I'm going to scratch these two out right here because I don't want to confuse people. So Apple has guidelines for what you can put in there. So if I want hunks of the Czech Republic, right? Like some sort of 12-month pinup thing of HOnza looking all sexy and stuff. Apple might not approve that because maybe HOnza is not good enough looking. I've had apps that were rejected before because the interface wasn't nice enough, like Nick enough. Apple has these criteria, what they will approve to let through here. This is the big part of this. So first you have to compile it with the certificate. I'm going to be clear. That's kind of it's easy as long as you don't change anything. Once you get it working, it's fine, but it's a pain. Then once you get through this whole thing, you have to submit to Apple. Apple pauses it right here. There's a big pause, and they review it. So they're like little people there. They have little eyes, and they're going to look at you. They might frown at you, and they might reject you and send you out. It's like you're blown out in the space. You're rejected. You're too ugly. You're not smart enough. If you have an app that's into stealing passwords, pick the thing that Apple doesn't want you to have, right? I'm just saying, whatever their guidelines are, they don't want it to be in there, right? Then they can reject it. So how do you get your app into the App Store? Because sometimes, maybe there's nothing wrong with your app, but I had a guy call me who was almost in tears because his interface wasn't pretty enough and Apple didn't want, in what they thought, kind of an ugly app stuck on the App Store. It's like if you take starting point, it's beautiful, and then I get a hold of it and I modify it a bunch, and it's kind of good looking. It might pass Apple and it might not, and Apple might want more polish on it, right? Or one time I had an app that was fine, except that I talked about an Android version of the app because we went off and built this other down here, different process. We built an Android version, and Apple's, they said, you're not allowed to talk about Android version. They rejected me, and they kicked me off the planet. So I had to go back to here, to my sample file, make the edit in the FMP12 file, rerun the compile down to here, re-sign it, resubmit it, and then hope Apple doesn't eject me into space again. So this is, HOnza's being nice about this, but this is the ugliness of this process. It also means that the apps that are on the App Store are generally higher quality and not totally, okay, if that makes any sense. So then if you don't want to deal with Apple, once again, I'm scratching out these Apple school business things. So you can either run with beta test with test flight. I think it's limited to like 90 days or something. So this is not really a great answer. The ad hoc only really allows you to install it on your own computer or 100 of your best friends for a year. That's kind of a hack. So you really need to figure out how to get through here. And one last thing, but I'm going to give it back to you, HOnza, is that really you do want to go through the App Store if you can. And there's mobile, the MDM, right? Mobile device management, and some things like you can have an App Store. You can have also your own corporate App Store here. Like, so if you're like, most of us are small companies, but if Joanne's or one of you, Gadidi, Ed, Scott, Schmiegel, Topcat, one of you, David Angel, works at like Toyota, and Toyota uses a lot of FileMaker, right? They do. At the corporate level, Toyota uses a lot of FileMaker. So say you're doing a lot of FileMaker Toyota, you would actually set up your own Toyota App Store, and it would make sense for you to have that, okay? So the problem is that we go through this whole edit it here in Pro, right? We're editing in Pro. We test it in Go. Once we think it's good, we run this whole process. Then we can submit it to where they're going to pass judgment upon us. So at the end of the day, we really can't get around this judgment passing thing, but we could make this process simpler. And that's where HOnza comes in, because he makes this whole pile of thing right here much simpler. So we still have to deal with the gatekeepers at Apple, but if we can do it faster, easier on this side over here, then over here they might say, oh, it's going to take 1 to 7 days or 1 week or whatever for this process. So you give it here, then you're stuck in limbo. But if you could bust this out in an hour or two versus longer, right? That makes sense what I'm saying, Margaret? So HOnza simplifies this whole thing on this side.
Yes. That makes a lot of sense.
And it's pretty damn cheap for what he charges for. It's pretty, like I said, when I tell you I would buy it, I'm not kidding. We only have people on the show that I would buy their stuff, right? So to just be clear about that. All right, so HOnza,
It almost seems like you have seen my next slide because you have
Oh, I'm sorry.
almost.
I was just drawing pictures, right? So go ahead.
Yeah, but this is what
Okay, I have not seen that slide, but stop. This is the best kind of customer interaction or people interaction to have because I've used this. I've been through. Listen. I presented on this at DevCon in a session with like 800 people. Margaret helped me. This is like in 2015, right? Margaret was like a
So I remember having to memorize the command line. It was very stressful.
Yeah, Margaret and it was a spot in the show where I needed to take a drink and drink, and Margaret kept talking for 5 minutes, presenting to the audience. Claris didn't know this was going to happen, but it's like having a gymnast do this big vault and they stick the landing. Margaret stuck the landing. It's not a problem. You're never in trouble if you stick the landing. If you blow it and you don't stick the landing, then you're in deep trouble. So Margaret landed it, did a great job, but I presented on this, so I know this stuff. And the whole session was about, if I go back to HOnza's thing, the whole session was about how much of a pain in the ass this was, or how to get through it. It wasn't, when my session wasn't called getting through the pain in the ass, but it was understanding the FIS, FileMaker iOS App SDK is the acronym. What this session was about, and that's what he helps you with. So I'm going to shut up. So HOnza, you do your thing. I'm going to be quiet now.
Okay, so this is what XGode replaces. So as Richard said, we are not replacing the process with going through the Apple's approval process. So if ad hoc is a viable solution for you, it's much easier. But we have simplified the whole process on the left side, going through the XGode, compiling, building everything. And the way how we did it is through a service that we have. We actually have a server where we have all this thing installed, but we automated the building process there. And I will show you live how we use it. And for the case something goes wrong, I also pre-recorded a video of it. But for now, let's see. So here I have a very small FileMaker application that I built. It's a kind of app for learning calculus. I'm not going to explain the app itself. It's just a FileMaker app designed to look well on iPhone, iPad. You can see it's FileMaker. And I'm going to just take this and close it, and going to turn it into a native app on my iPhone. So what I will start with is XGode. That's on the 2for You Software website. If you go to 2for You Software, there in the top menu, you go to Tools and you find XGode. And you can then just start building your app. There is an initial setup process that takes some time and requires human touch. I'm not going to go through that for today. But once you are set up, it's just about going to the other page, logging in with your account, hitting here, create a build, and you get a simple web form where you put all the information that you need, that we need to build your app. So we start by putting the app here. Then if you want plugins, you can add plugins here. Some popular plugins are as easy to add as clicking a checkbox. So you just can, for instance, add MBS plugin. You don't have to download it from the MBS website, anything, just click here. If you have other plugin that you want to use, you can just drag and drop it to this area here. But the building process will take a little longer because you will have to upload it, wait for the plugin to upload to our servers. Then if you want some additional files, you can put them here. Here's the mandatory app information. So obviously the app needs to have a name. I have already tried it earlier today, so I have all the information pre-filled. The next thing is bundle ID. There is a small help describing all the fields, so you can just click on the question mark to see what we are actually asking you for. This is a very important checkbox because you are only allowed to distribute apps if you have a FileMaker developer subscription, which I believe is still $100 a year. Correct me if I'm wrong. And then here you select how you want to distribute the app, whether it's the ad hoc distribution that I explained earlier, or whether you want to put it on the App Store. If you want to go to the App Store, it's always good to at least one build have as ad hoc and then go to the App Store. But I will use the ad hoc build now because I want to show you how you can easily install the app on your device. Then there is some additional information. This URL scheme, this is if you know the URL scheme for FileMaker, like you can use the FMS, I think it's FMP script beginning URL to run a script in FileMaker. So because we are building a new app and we don't want this app to collide with FileMaker Go if you have it installed, you have to come up with your own prefix for the URL. If you have your app encrypted with the encryption at rest, you will have to put the password here, but I don't have it encrypted, so I'm just skipping this. And there are some advanced options as well. I don't want to go through them in detail now. You can, if you create an XGode account, you can go through them and examine what you can set here. The important part here is the graphics. So you have to have 3 graphic files. One is the icon for the app that will appear on the desktop. Again, under the question marks, you have the instructions. So this one has to be 124 pixels square, and it needs to be a PNG image. So I have prepared one here as an app icon. I can use drag and drop, so I will just drag it here. Then obscure icon is what appears when you are switching between apps and it doesn't have the app interface cached in. So that's I typically use the same icon. It just is a smaller one with just 372 pixels wide. So I have one here and just drag and drop it to the form. And the last thing is launch image. That's what appears when you launch the app for the first time. So normally it's advisable to have your app interface as a launch image, but because it will look differently on a portrait, on landscape, so different croppings apply. What I typically use is this simple gradient with a app icon in the center. So I use that here. And the last thing is just hitting this button. If you want to make sure that no one else can install the app, you can protect it with a username and password. For now, I will just start building because as I mentioned, I am still able to install the app only on my own devices because of the signing. So even if you try it, the app will not work on your device. So I don't worry about it. So I hit this button, and now it will take between 5 and 15 minutes, probably less than 10, and then the app will be available. So for now, it's just uploading all the finishing the upload of all the assets, and after a moment, it will switch to the next screen. Now you can see the app is being built. So we now have to wait about 5 to 10 minutes for it to finish. So that's exactly a good time for questions. And
Yep.
by the way, here you can also see the details of the parameters under the icon.
Oh, nice. Oh, nice. You know, we should build an app and have an app built and have it on the App Store for the FMTV thing. That would be a good idea. Powered by HOnza.
We actually also if you go to the XGode webpage and scroll down a little bit, We have already some list of apps that are actually published on the App Store.
Ooh, I want the toxic waste app.
Most of the customers that use XGode are actually building custom apps that are only installed for one or few clients.
Yeah.
So not all of them are public, but these are actually published on the public App Store.
Ah, okay.
Ooh. Well, now I gotta go find them.
Yeah.
And
Oh,
just
there you go.
as we are waiting for the build to finish, I can tell you a little bit about
Well, we
this.
do have a question if you want to
process.
hold for a second.
Okay,
You
definitely.
want people to ask questions, or you want me just to ignore them?
Yes, ask questions.
I always say Schmeagle because that's a Lord of the Rings thing, but it's Schmeagle. I'm actually building an SDK FileMaker app right now, and I'm close to being done. How does the optional files work? I have one for mine. Also, what is the difference between your subscription types? Do we use internal distribution app? Do we use internal app distribution? How does that work? Question mark. So,
Three
Okay.
questions in one.
potential customer who wants answers.
Okay, great. So the first question, optional files. Basically, they get when you launch your app for the first time, the optional files get extracted to what FileMaker sees as a documents folder. So if in FileMaker you get the documents path and then add the file name. That's how FileMaker can actually access the files. You can also see them in the FileMaker in the app itself if you close the file in FileMaker Go. But I don't think you can do it in the native app because it will then relaunch the main app anyway. But you can get access to them through the file sharing, like when you mount your iPhone to the desktop, you get access to those files as well. But it's primarily like the documents folder that comes with it, and it's a way how you can export and import files in the app. Now, regarding the subscriptions, if I scroll down here to buy subscription, so we have just the 3 subscription options, and they work all the same. It's just savings when you prepay for a longer period. So you can either pay monthly and then you pay $49 a month, or you can pay quarterly and you pay 139 per quarter, or for 499 you get the whole year.
Okay, so it's $500 for the year. If someone uses it for a year and they don't use it anymore, that means they could not compile new versions of their application, correct?
Exactly. And also if you use the App Store distribution, then the app stays on the App Store as long as Apple allows it to be there. Apple typically requires you to upgrade your apps at least once per 3 years. If you use the ad hoc distribution, then obviously you need to update your app at least once a year. And also, if you cancel the subscription, then we may delete the app from our hosting space, so you won't be able to install it to new devices.
Internal app distribution work. How does that work? If you want to have an internal app in your own, would you do okay, backup. So say I have a company with 50 employees.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I don't have that many. I've got, I don't know, 28, 30. So if I want to do 50 employees and I want to distribute an app, a CRM to all of them, how would you recommend we do that? I mean, obviously we're going to buy your product,
Okay,
but beyond that.
For internal distribution, I would definitely use the ad hoc distribution. The only hassle is that you have to put every device into your developer account. So that's under developer.apple.com. If you log into your account there,
Okay.
You scroll to devices.
Yeah.
And there's the place where you can add your devices. You can do it even in bulk, so you can import a device list as a file.
A device is a UUID, right? Everyone, we know what our UUIDs are.
Yes, every device is defined or identified by its identifier.
Yep.
Which there is a page which makes finding out your UID very easy. I don't just now recall the address, but yeah, online not
It's a generator.
generator.
You need to retrieve it for your iPhone or iPad. Yeah. So, well, you got that. Get persistent. Well, David Angel says get persistent ID. I don't know if
No,
that's the same one.
no, the persistent ID from FileMaker is something else. Uh,
They're both UUIDs, but we're talking about the hardware ID that's.
Oh, okay. So it's not UUID, it's UDID. So it's Universal Device ID.
Oh, okay.
So it's UDID tech. So if you go to this web page and agree to install their configuration profile, then you will simply click a button or tap a button, and it will tell you the UDID of your device. And you can then just copy and paste it to the developer
Yeah, you have to collect
developer.com.
that from everyone in the organization. Then you have to kind of maintain the list, but it's the
Yeah.
HOnza's saying it's the simplest
If
way. I
you
believe him. So
if you have an MDM, you can get the UDID from the MDA for each device because it's
okay.
available there as well.
Okay, but people don't know what MD. So mobile device management is a service that you specify from Apple, and your company has its own private Apple App Store, right? Is that my understanding?
Not really. It's much more. There are hundreds of MDM solutions, but MDM solution basically keeps track of all your devices. It lets you push applications or configurations to all the devices. So, for instance, you can force all the devices to have the latest version of your app. You can also wipe device if it gets stolen remotely. So you can
Oh,
just
that's
press a
nice.
button in the MDM and get the device deleted. And you can restrict what the users can do with those devices. For instance, you can restrict that it only connects to your Wi-Fi and not anyone else's. So you can do much more. But one of the features is that you can install apps and you can purchase apps from the private app store and push those apps to your devices through the MDM, and you can do them remotely. So once the device is enrolled in the MDM, it knows, hey, I am controlled by the MDM. So when you turn it on and it's online, it will regularly contact the MDM to ask, do you have any commands for me? And if the MDM has commands for the device, it will process it.
All right, there you go. So the MDM is a good one. I mean, I've never gone through and dealt with MDM, but it's something you can sign up and pay for. But it's not just Apple. I think other companies have their custom variants of the MDM that you can purchase from them.
Yes, I think the Apple's one is called Apple Profile Manager. Uh, Cisco has one. Many MDM solutions are even cross-platform. So if you have in
Oh,
a corporate, you typically use one MDM for all the devices across the organization.
hmm. All right, who
So,
did our
oh,
Hansa? What did you do?
so well, now I'm not sure what happened. This may happen that the build fails. I will have to check later. So for this case, I have a backup that I
It's
I built.
pre-baked in the oven. You pre-baked it. There we go.
So yeah, so I built one earlier today, so it's here. So I will just open this link here, and this is the page we have for installing the app. So you can, if you have a MDM, you can download the IPA file here and put it in the MDM distributed to your devices. But if you just want to manually install to each device, the easiest way to do it is through this QR code. So let me just reflector, and I will share my iPhone here. Okay, so here is my iPhone. And before I install the app, there's one thing in the latest iOS versions that you have to do before you can install apps directly to the device. So that is going to the preferences, going to the privacy and security, scrolling down, and you have to actually turn on the developer mode, because if you have this off, which is default, the direct installation of apps is disallowed. So this is one thing that you have to do in order to be able to use the ad hoc distribution.
Hey, so Jans, we're talking about you right now. This is exact. He was just scanned this off the screen and he's having a problem. So how do we do that again? We go into settings. HOnza, do that one more time. Go to
So
settings.
go to settings,
Yep.
scroll to privacy and security,
Okay.
and scroll to the bottom, and there under security you have developer mode.
Developer mode needs to be on. Oh yeah.
And that developer mode actually allows the ad hoc distribution to be used. Once you have that on, you can just turn on the phone, the photo camera, and scan this QR code. And that will load the same page on the iPhone, but instead of the QR code, it will have this orange install button. So now I press the install button and hit install. And now this is a small caveat. It doesn't show any like indication that it's installing, but in the backend, it's actually in the background, it's actually started installing the app. So it's now loading, and once it's loaded, you will be able to use it.
So Schmiegel's asking, all these apps are actually stored on your server. What's the security of that?
So Johannes probably tried to install my app, and he hit the problem that his device is actually not registered under my account. So that's why it says the integrity of the app cannot be verified. That's the message you get when you try to install the app on a device that's not registered on your account.
Okay.
So now I have the app installed. And you see, it's the same FileMaker app that I had on the desktop. So I can just try to use it and go through it and work with it. So that's the app installed, and it has its own icon, independent on FileMaker Go. So here we are. And by the way, one thing is a caveat that I will be addressing tomorrow. So let's say I open the app and I've discovered a bug. Something is not quite wrong and I want to fix it. Now, what's the process to fix it? I have to go to the original app here, change it in FileMaker, and then go to the building process again.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
So, and how many times have you tried to put your app to FileMaker Go and it was just fine for the first attempt? Has anyone experienced this?
Well, worked fine the first time?
Yeah.
Probably not, no.
I have not, it hasn't happened to me a single time. Every time when I try it, I discover some bugs that I have to fix, and I have to reinstall the app maybe 5-6 times before I'm happy with it. So the better way of doing it, obviously, we have a FileMaker. So we can just connect to a FileMaker server and see it on the iPhone and change it live, right?
Yeah, the rub is of course, what's the strategy with your solution, right? So
and the nice thing is with the native app we now can use plugins, but obviously we cannot test and debug plugins in FileMaker Go because FileMaker Go cannot use plugins. So the way how to actually develop and debug iOS app using plugins is to build an app as a native app that connects to FileMaker server so that you actually have the core of the app on the server, can modify it on the fly, but you still can use plugins on the device. And that's the topic that we have prepared for tomorrow.
Cool. So on the Schmiegel, did we answer your question about the security? So he's saying that it won't work unless you're in the, if someone gets into, say like we download this app because we see the link on this live stream, right? We download it, but we don't have the device ID. Our device ID isn't on it.
Yeah. But by the way, now if you have this QR code, you can actually download the IPA. And if you are a little bit smart enough, you can extract this FileMaker file from it. So let me challenge you. I'm wondering how many people will actually tell me tomorrow that they were able to extract the FileMaker file from this app.
I don't know. It depends if anyone's got a spare hour to spend and beat their head into the ground, right? So, Shiegel has a question, right? And so if he hires you, we pay for your service, and they go through this process, and their app is on your server, how secure is that app on your server, or can they instruct their server to remove it after they download it?
Well, if you go here and press this trash can or what is it button, you just delete that forever. So that immediately deletes the build from our server. The server actually we are actually using Amazon S3 for the storage, so it's there. Every build gets like random URL behind it, which is like 100 and I think 20 characters long. And additionally, if you want to hide it behind username and password, when building, you can put a username and password here. And then anyone accessing that page here will first have to type in that username and password to get it.
So you could protect it with that, Shiegel, and then after that you would remove it, download it, remove it. So I think you'd be fairly safe with that. But then, yeah, accessing it, because that's what we ended up with doing with that Big Valley Aviation, the helicopter thing. Most of the time you're accessing the main CRM, but if you want to take a picture or do something else, it downloads a local app that does one little thing locally. That way you don't have the network performance hit, right? If that makes any sense.
Exactly.
David Angel says for ad hoc file needed to be subscribed to XGode. Yeah, I think this service is basically this is a compiling simplification service is what he's providing. I mean, you don't need to use this. You could go download Xcode and go through all the pain and agony of that. I mean, David Angel, you're plenty smart to do that. It's just a matter of how much time you want to spend beating your head against the wall. If you are a professional developer and you only build iPhone and iPad apps, you're not going to use this because you're going to be in Xcode doing your own thing and doing it all the time, every day. That's what you're paid to do. But if you're a FileMaker developer and this is a peripheral skill set, like kind of you do it once a year, or every other year, or every 18 months or something, or once every 6 months, this is something you don't want to screw around with. That's where you'd get Xcode, right?
Exactly. Actually, the story behind XGode is that we built it for ourselves. Of course, we can build the app with Xcode, but when we were doing it that way, it was literally pain in the and everyone was preferring to use FileMaker Go because they didn't want to go through this complicated process. And if and but so we built this for ourselves for the automation, and it simplified the building process so much that when we are now building an app for iOS or iPadOS, it's very easy to create like 8 builds a day during the final process of finishing the app, and there's no problem with it. It just take about a minute to start a new build, and we just let it build, and 15 minutes later we download the app and test it, and it's no hassle. So with $500 a year, just single app build will get you the money back on the time that you save.
All right, so StuJack 1019 says I have technicians who use FileMaker Go connected to our FileMaker server. Yes, I agree. I think that's in a lot of ways the simplest way, but this gives you, if you want to plug in access directly, or if you have you want to, like in my case, we collected photographs of repairs on a helicopter. We want high definition photos where you can see cracks and things like that. I don't want to do that across the network. I want to take a bunch of photos, and the person's done, they press a button, it syncs or does something. So you want a local app, and if you want a local app, can you get away with Go? or do you really need, or you want a distribution with the Apple App Store, distribution of your company? It's kind of what we talked about at the beginning of this live stream, but Stu Jack has got a good point. That's very common to have technicians using FileMaker Go connect to FileMaker Server. In fact, we're talking about that tomorrow. Other questions? It's a good topic. It's a really good topic, and Hans is an expert at this one specifically. I'm very happy he does this for the community. That way I don't have to, which is great because I don't do it enough to be enough of a professional. At one point, like I said, back 9 years ago, in 2015, me and Margaret we're super ninjas. Miles Debsky was part of that team, and we were building apps left and right. We had a couple of customer building apps where we did the live stream on, or did the developer conference on it. But having this simplifies it because to me, it's not a core competency of what I do. Mostly, I'm doing FileMaker and then deploying it onto this kind of, I don't want to say edge case, but for me, it's an edge case. For some of you, like Stu Jack or someone, this is like a major, all his technicians or his or her technicians are doing this stuff, right? So that's not an edge case for you. It's like a major part of your deployment. For me, it's an edge case. And so I don't want to spend a lot of time trying to wrestle with XGode, especially with the certificates. Because the thing is with the certificates, you get it set, it works. And then if you take that, you're like, oh, I'm going to go on the road and I'm going to have to compile this. I'm going to go to my customer site. I'm going to work there and I'm going to recompile it. Say it's set up on the computer over here behind me, right? And then you put it on your laptop. As soon as you move Xcode to your laptop and with all those certificates break. Boom, broke. And you have to wrestle with Apple to get them reissued and reset up. This is where this comes in. So Labo says, do we still have to wait for Apple to validate the app? If it goes to the regular Apple App Store, there is a validation. I don't know what the time delay is like that currently. HOnza probably knows that.
Well, for a new app, it can be 1 or 2 weeks. But very often it's much shorter. It depends on when you do it. For instance, if you try it 2 weeks before Christmas, then you're in a problem because everyone is pushing new versions of their games and shopping apps and whatever. Also, Apple has official review team downtime during the holidays for a week, I believe. So that's a time where they don't do reviews at all. And it also depends on whether you already have built some apps or not, because the review process not only verifies the app, but it also verifies the marketing information that you put there for the app. And that's also a requirement that you put nice screenshots, and the screenshots are telling truth. Apple recently started also requiring videos in many cases. So yeah, they want the App Store to be very appealing, so they want you to make your app information appealing in order to approve it for the App Store publication, which is not so strict if you use if you use the app as a hidden app on the App Store. So if you put it there as a custom app that only few customers have access to, then the requirements for the marketing information and even for the app are less strict. But if it goes to public, they are very strict, very demanding, and if you do it for the first time, you probably will fail initially, and you have to make changes. But we have done together the 5-day 5 days of live streams, specifically addressing all the steps you need to go through to put the app on the App Store. Yeah, and you can find it on our website in the news. If you go scroll a little bit down, you will find the from FileMaker to App Store step by step. This covers the process. There are all the live stream recordings, and we even have topic-specific links to the right moment in the recording. So you can go through this and learn everything that you need to be able to successfully publish your apps on the App Store. And if you recall, we even got an app approved during the live stream by Apple.
Yeah, I remember that. That was awesome. I do have a question here. So Sheagle James had a question. So when you're putting the files together to submit into Xcode or to your product, we have the SDK somehow that goes into there. We have the FMP12 file that goes in there. and he is asking the question, just to be clear, can I upload an Objective-C file? So I'm going to say text file, some sort of code. There's code in Objective-C file. I'm not sure what the extension is. And that can be included in that build, correct or not correct? Kind of like a plugin, I guess. The idea is kind of.
Well, if you just mean that you include a file that contains Objective-C code, it's just a text file. It's not going to execute that code, so Apple doesn't care that you have that file there. One example of file that has a lot of text code in it is the Swift Playgrounds, right? Because it's a coding teaching app. So it has the code, programming code as a text there, but it does, and it even kind of executes that. So that's exception. But because you don't execute it in the FileMaker, Apple doesn't care that you have it there.
Well, I'm pretty sure he had plans to execute it. It might be his own plugin. I don't know if he wrote his own plugin.
But if you mean you want to even want to execute it, as I mentioned with the SDK integration in the presentation, the iOS App SDK has two ways how you can modify the FileMaker engine functionality. One is plugins, and the other one is called an app delegate. So basically, there is a the FileMaker engine is called from a wrapper that's the main application, which is actually editable. So before even starting the FileMaker from the framework provided by Claris, you can add some hooks and triggers through your own code, and that can be executed. So it's a little bit more complicated, but yes, you can add your own code to the app.
I'm going to suggest that Schmiegel takes this up directly with you. He writes, the code auto executes from the app, goes to the background, and comes back to the foreground. So that sounds like a wrapper app, right? So if the wrapper app is aware that it's in the background or foreground, seems to me that's the way you would play with that. So if people want to reach out to you and contact you, HOnza, how do they do that?
Well, the best way is through the website. We have you can either go to support here. We have a few forms where you can choose from, or you can use the form in the bottom. So that's the best way. We also, if you want to schedule a direct call with me, you can use this button that schedules a call with me. But if you do it like every day, then I will start rejecting that. So unless you buy some paid consultancy with us.
Yes, well, you are a paid consultant, and that's where he makes most of his money. I met one of his customers here, nice customer. So, all right, well, that's it for today. HOnza will be back tomorrow to talk about FileMaker Go, but really iOS App SDK, talking to your FileMaker server, which I think is a good happy medium or a good middle spot where you can have a local app, but then you also have an app that is on the server, and then you can adjust that or edit that in flight as necessary. And then you can also download it. You could actually have where it downloads off the FileMaker server or somehow and installs it locally. We do that too through a container. So we've done that. Margaret's done that. We've done shows on this. So anything else, HOnza, for today?
No, that's it for today. And I'll be looking forward, hopefully, the whole group seeing tomorrow to going more advanced.
All right, everyone. Appreciate it. Have a good day tomorrow. Have a good one. We'll see you.
relational.